Hello, I'm Lisa Tyler. I'm the host of Senior Connections. This is the monthly show that's brought to you by Senior Resources, which is your local area agency on aging, serving Muskegon and also Oceana and Ottawa counties. We come to you every month to try to give you some information about services and programs, organizations that are serving older adults right here in Muskegon County, and we try to help navigate what can be a confusing network of services and opportunities out there for older adults. So that can range from prescription benefits that we've talked about recently to Medicare, Medicaid assistance program to programs like the Alzheimer's Association that we're going to discuss today. So our topic today is Alzheimer's disease, and I'm very excited to have with me Laura Klasse and Kayla Myers, who are here from the local chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks
Welcome
for coming.
us.
So we'll share lots of good information today, but let's get to know each of you a little bit first. Laura, we'll start with you because you are fairly new to the local Alzheimer's Association. So tell our viewers a little bit about you and how you came to this new position.
Okay. Yes, I've been in the community for a long time. I've worked in child welfare with adults with developmental disabilities in the past, and I brought myself to the Alzheimer's Association through family experience, family members that have had Alzheimer's.
Okay. So we can get into that a little bit more, but what kind of work is I know you worked for Pioneer Resources, correct? And
Correct.
What did you do in child welfare?
I was a child welfare caseworker, and before that I had worked in the prison systems and in domestic violence and sexual assault.
Wow, you've really run the gamut.
Yes, I have.
Absolutely. Well, that's exciting.
Yes.
So we're excited to learn more about you and what you're excited about, because it's always fun to have new staff on who come with lots of good ideas. Kayla, tell us about you.
Yeah, so I'm Kiel Myers. I'm the Special Events Coordinator for the Alzheimer's Association in Muskegon. So that's just a fancy way of saying I do the walk here in Muskegon, the walk in Ludington, and then a third-party fundraising event called The Longest Day. So my journey to the association started about 5 years ago when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. I was in college at the time and wanted to take a proactive approach to this disease that doesn't have a cure. So I joined a sorority whose main philanthropy they are involved with is the Alzheimer's Association, and worked with the chapter in Grand Rapids all through college, volunteering at the walks, and really fell in love with the mission and everybody I met there. I had worked in nonprofits with the Kent County Parks in the development and event side, so when I graduated and I saw this position available, it was the greatest fit ever, so I'm so happy to be here.
What was your degree in?
Event management.
Okay, so perfect for this kind
exactly.
of thing. So you've had great experience. So tell us, you mentioned Ludington. What area does the Muskegon office cover?
So we have 5 counties. We do Muskegon, Newyago, Ludington, Mason County, and Lake County. Did I do that? Is that all of them?
Oceana?
Yes.
Okay. No,
Yep.
okay.
So we have those 5 counties.
So pretty much here in the counties
Right.
north and just slightly east of us.
Yeah, and then Laura does a really unique other part of your position. Do you want to tell them about
Sure.
that?
I also work with the Greater Michigan chapter, Alzheimer's Association, and I present programs on adults with developmental disabilities as well as dementia, so dual diagnosis. It's a new program that started on the east side of the state. They've been doing that for about 3 years. They've had such good response that they have now asked for that to start happening on the west side of the state. So I'm in the process of training for that right now.
So did they plan on doing that before you were hired, or decide to expand it over here after you're hired?
No,
because
before I was hired.
Okay.
Yes.
So then you were truly a perfect fit because
Yes.
of all your experience with that.
Absolutely.
Well, that's exciting. What's
Yes.
the timetable for that look like?
Hopefully over the next month. I'm still in the middle of training. That should be done by the end of February. So by the next month, I should be able to start moving along on it.
That's just
So.
an area, I'm just fascinated by that, and I know we've talked about it a little bit personally, but it fascinates me because it's not an area you think of. A lot of times we know, I mean, we've talked about this in senior millage work, that we've got a lot of adults and they're aging who have developmental disabilities, and so there are programs through the ARC locally to work with estate planning, legacy planning, who's going to take care of them, but then you
Right.
don't even think that, yes, on top of a developmental disability that they may have had since birth or may have come around
Right.
later, dementia they're not exempt from that.
Right, absolutely. In fact, people with Down syndrome, their risk of dementia increases much greater than the average person. So that's why it's so important to have this program as well, because they are living longer, and so that becomes much more of an issue.
Excellent. Did you know about that mix of that before you
Not very much, no.
Okay, so it
no.
wasn't something you'd been looking into
No,
anyway,
no.
but I bet that's just fascinating.
Yes, it's very
Oh,
fascinating.
It's a perfect marriage. It's
Yes.
just like you were made for that position.
Yes.
Well, good for them. Whoever hired her, good job. So,
Thank you.
All right, well, let's talk about some basics. Where is the local chapter located? Whichever one of you wants to tell me.
So we are located just off of Apple Avenue. We have an office inside of Sanctuary of the Oaks. They're so generous and donated space for us. We're up on the third floor in room 336. So we have that office there, but we are out in the community everywhere. I think we're hardly ever in the office. So I think this is the first time I'm seeing Laura in like 2 weeks. So, so yeah, that's where we're at, right in the middle of Muskegon.
Okay. So let's talk more about Alzheimer's disease. I think that people are hearing about it a lot more. I have a feeling that back when former President Reagan revealed the dementia issue that he had, that was probably really opened people up to
Correct.
that this wasn't something we could hide in a closet, nor should it be.
Absolutely.
But we're talking numbers. More than 5 million Americans live with that. And that was a number I had pulled a year or so ago when I had a previous colleague of yours on here. How is that number changing? Is it increasing a lot? What are we looking at in the future?
Yeah, so actually Alzheimer's disease is just now becoming a disease people talk about. It used to be, very hush-hush, and sadly the numbers are staggering and just on the rise. So every 66 seconds someone's diagnosed. 1 in 3 seniors will be diagnosed with Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. Here in West Michigan, we alone serve 180,000 individuals with dementia, and including their caregivers, that number is about 500,000. Yeah, so it is a terrible disease that's just on the rise. By 2050, that number is expected to triple from 5 million.
Oh my goodness, and no cure. So let's talk about some basics. What exactly is Alzheimer's? I think a lot of times I try to be careful about using terms. You don't use dementia and Alzheimer's interchangeably. They're not one and the same. Although I think a lot of people do, because the knowledge about Alzheimer's is increased so much, but there are other forms of dementia. Dementia, I've learned a lot through your research, guys.
Good.
You've got dementia as that umbrella,
Yes.
and then you've got Alzheimer's and Lewy bodies and others. So what is Alzheimer's? What defines that?
Alzheimer's is a progressive and fatal brain disease that is defined by symptoms of dementia, such as memory loss, executive functioning issues. Kind of think of it as executive functioning like the CEO of the brain, the planning, and wandering decision-making are difficult tasks. The symptoms become severe enough that people need help daily from caregivers or their loved ones to help them get through it. It's not a normal part of aging, and that's important for people to decipher. And it accounts for approximately 60 to 80% of all dementias. It's the number one type of dementia. Other conditions can mimic dementia or Alzheimer's, so it's good to have a thorough medical checkup to make sure things like vitamin deficiencies, vitamin B12, or thyroid issues can mimic that as well.
Is there an actual test or series of tests that are done to confirm that, or is it really just taking in all the information about all the things
Right.
some things you can do an x-ray, you can do a CAT scan, you can do things like that to figure out all kinds of physical ailments, but is there something that really says, is there a brain scan or something you can do that says this is Alzheimer's?
You can do some types of brain scans, however, really it's ruling out other diseases, other medical issues is usually what leads to the final decision through your medical provider.
So are there any risk factors that make people more likely to get Alzheimer's?
Age is the highest risk factor. The more you age, the more risk you have. And family genetics as well, family history, and as well as the medical issues I just spoke about, high blood pressure, diabetes. Those things affect our cognitive health, and so the better you can keep yourself healthy, the more chance of not developing it.
Are there any things we can do to preventive kind of things? You hear about brain activities, doing Sudoku or doing puzzles or doing things that keep your brain stimulated.
We always say, what's good for your heart is good for your brain. So, all that annoying stuff your doctor tells you, really you should be doing and absolutely keeping social, doing those brain teasers, those crosswords, reading. All that is definitely being studied to see how that affects people. But sadly, you could be, a triathlon champion and read a book every day, and you could still get diagnosed
Right.
with Alzheimer's disease.
Right.
Nothing
There's
can ward it off,
Right,
for sure.
Right.
exactly.
We haven't got to that
Right.
point. So we've already talked a little bit about it, how it's diagnosed, more a process of elimination, which makes sense. What about treatments? Are there any medications that are effective? No cure, we've already said.
Right,
sadly,
absolutely.
But is there a way to slow it down or?
Well, there
stem
are
it?
some medications, currently approved Alzheimer's medications, that can provide some relief, some symptom relief to people with Alzheimer's. However, it doesn't change the course of the disease. And so prevention and, as part of our research, is really important to try to control
Yeah, and
that.
what's huge with this is getting diagnosed early. We really stress if you
Mm-hmm.
notice any symptom, immediately go to your doctor. That gives you plenty of time to plan for the future, eliminate, other possibilities of
Right.
what your cognitive loss could be, to, financially plan, to get a caregiving team in place. We really stress early detection is the best to live a most fulfilled life with Alzheimer's disease.
So we hear sometimes about early onset Alzheimer's. What's considered early? Is it before 60 or 65, or is there an age that is, you mentioned aging being the top
Right.
top thing in that. Where is it? Is it 50?
Usually it's any time before the age 65
Okay.
Yeah.
is considered early onset.
Okay.
Because that's not typical. The majority of people develop it after the age of 65. More people are closer to age 80 that will develop it. However, anything before 65 is considered early onset.
Okay, so I'm forgetful sometimes, and my kids will joke about, I'll use the wrong words will come, not horribly, but I don't know, something very similar will come out. And they don't say Alzheimer's, but they're like, okay, Mom, you're getting older. At what point is there just normal stress-related memory loss, and do you have to be worried, or just your busy life?
Yeah.
What point is it considered normal, and what point do you need to really be thinking, okay, now I better go get checked?
Yeah.
Are there certain indications?
Yeah, so there are definitely some warning signs, and Alzheimer's disease is very different for every person, but in general, the forgetting is one thing we always get. I lost my keys. Do I have Alzheimer's disease? No. It's major.
My husband's been doing that for our entire life. So.
No, it's major misplacement and stuff. You're putting, instead of putting the butter in the fridge, you're putting it on the soap dish. You walk up to your coffee pot one day and you can't remember how to turn it on. Your mom's starting to take large sums of money out of her bank accounts or buy things that she doesn't need, or those television ads, major changes, personality changes. You were very social and happy, and now you're very withdrawn and reserved, are definite indicators of Alzheimer's disease, not just your everyday.
Just like, I forgot that I put my keys in my purse instead
Right.
of my
Right.
pocket or whatever.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So, are there different stages to the disease? It's progressive, right? It's not
Correct.
usually, it's not like boom, everything's
Right.
upended and you need to have assistance. So what are some of those stages? How does that I know there's no typical. How does it often
Right.
progress?
Right.
Well, typically there's 3 stages. The beginning stage, which is the early stage, which is more mild symptoms, the middle stage, which is more moderate symptoms, and then the late stage, which is more severe symptoms. How people progress through the disease varies greatly. Nobody necessarily stays in one stage for a certain amount of time, moving on to the next. It can vary from person to person. The average lifespan is approximately 4 to 8 years after a diagnosis. However, people can live up to 20 years with it. So everybody is different. The disease defines itself very differently for each person.
And do people actually die of Alzheimer's disease, or is it something else that's associated with it?
So it can kind of be both, but people do die from Alzheimer's disease. That is something that we always stress to people. Your brain is severing your neuron connections. So, somebody could die because they aren't eating anymore. But the reason why you're not eating is because your brain has those severed connections telling you, I'm not hungry. In reality, you are. So although you could die from another cause, the root cause is always Alzheimer's disease, severed that connection to prevent you from, those other things.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. So I know this is we could talk an hour about this, but
Right.
what advice do you have for family members or caregivers? So somebody's been diagnosed and they're 65 or 70, and I find out my grandfather or somebody, what advice do you give them? What's step one that they should do?
I think step one would be reaching out to others. A good place to start is our helpline. Our helpline number is 1-800-272-3900. That's a good place to start. We have information, referral, resources. We have 24-hour social workers on call for any type of information you may need. Also reaching out to family, getting help from other family members, not doing it alone. It's a very devastating disease. It can be very exhausting on caretakers. And just trying to find time to take breaks. It's not easy to do, but it's your mental health and your physical health is important as well. And also attending maybe local support groups to know that you're not alone and that there's others that are there with you. And they offer advice as well that can help you to get through it.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that. So support groups are one of the services that the Alzheimer's Association provides locally. What other services do you provide? And then let's talk some more about what happens in one of those support groups.
Sure. We offer educational programming throughout the community about the disease. We also offer what's called care consultations, which we can do over the phone or individually that I do, basically to help people plan what do they need, what are they looking for, what works for their family, what type of resources can help them. Support groups, the helpline. We also do answers on Alzheimer's in a couple locations throughout the community, one being at Tanglewood on the second Monday of every month from 9 a.m. till noon. And people can just walk in for those. They do not have to make appointments. They're welcome to if they want to through our helpline, but they're also welcome to just walk in, and I'm there during that time.
And that's just a time that one-on-one, or they can bring in somebody with them.
Absolutely.
They can just ask you any question they
Yep.
have.
I'm in there. I have all the resources with me, information, and can help them to the best of my ability.
And what's so nice about the services we offer is they are free. If you
Absolutely.
want to have an educational program for your company or for your local church group, anything like that, we will have Laura or a volunteer come in there, and they are free to you always.
Perfect. So let's talk a little bit more about the support group.
Sure.
How often do you have support groups? Do you have more than one? When do they meet? Give us all those.
Sure. We have about a handful throughout our 5 counties. One currently here in Muskegon is held on the first Thursday every month at Mercy General Hospital, and it's from 1 to 3:30 p.m. The nice thing about this support group is it's for caregivers as well as the person with dementia. So we have myself, who I run the support group for the family members or the caregivers, and then we have a woman there, a psychologist there, that works with the people with dementia, so to provide some respite as well.
Okay.
So if somebody feels like they can't get away and they really need the support group, they can bring their family member along with them, and so they're able to have that
And
opportunity.
do they need to let you know ahead of time that they're doing
No,
that?
not at all.
You've always got the person there?
It's just an open support group. They can come whenever they want. They don't have to sign up. They just walk on in, and we're all there.
Roughly how many do you usually have at that?
Approximately 15 to 20 people.
Okay. And have a lot of them been coming for quite a while?
Some of them have. Some have been coming for approximately 3 or 4 years.
And I imagine they get some real tight relationships.
They do.
in that.
They do, and they stick together pretty well. They give each other a lot of good support. Our recent group, we had a handful of new people, which was really nice. Usually it's 1 or 2 at a time. So it was very nice. The older group really provided a lot of support to the new people, so it was very nice.
So what happens with that psychologist, with the people who are there with dementia? What's going on with them?
Usually she's spending time with them, doing activities. We bring snacks. We have a good time talking, and they just make it a relaxing time for them. No pressure, no stress, just to be there to make them comfortable so that their family members or their caregivers know that they're safe and they're taken care of while they're doing their support
That is
group.
a huge issue in any caregiver,
Absolutely.
any caregiving situation. That respite and being able to have a break, so it's really great that you have an opportunity
Right.
that they can come there and understand all of
Right.
that. So I know that Senior Resources administers the Muskegon County Senior Millage money that was voted on in late 2016, and we've talked about it a little bit. But your organization received some millage funds.
Yes,
which is
we
exciting.
did.
Let's
Very
talk, I know
exciting.
you're just getting started on
Right.
that. Let's talk a little bit about what that will mean. What will
Yeah.
that be for?
Absolutely. So we're so excited to be one of the organizations selected to receive some of this money. So the association in general is moving towards a greater impact, greater reach mentality in the next 5 years. We hear so often, oh, I wish I would have known about you, when mom had it. So we want to impact as many people as we can. So what we're going to do with our money we received is we're going to hire a third staff member in Muskegon who is going to help that mission and help us find that first survivor of Alzheimer's disease and reach as many families in the process until we get there. So we're really excited to get them going within the next few months and keep our services in Muskegon growing.
Great, because when there's a need that high and there's 2 of you currently, or even 3,
Right.
do you use volunteers for any of this? Because it seems like that's the only way you can't clone yourselves.
Right. We use volunteers for support groups, definitely, to help run the support groups, or else we couldn't be everywhere at the
Right.
same time. So we are very appreciative to our support group volunteers.
Perfect. So let's talk, Kayla, about that big event you mentioned earlier. 'Cause every fall, I don't know how many years, but you'll tell us, you have that big event, the Walk to End Alzheimer's, which used to be called something else.
Yep,
similar.
Memory Walks.
The Memory Walk. So I know that we're months away from that, but
Right.
tell us a little bit about that. How long has it been going on? How much did it raise last year? And it's not too early. I mean, we sponsor a team at Senior Resources.
Absolutely.
You were nice enough to bring us a plaque recognizing
Yeah.
that we were one of the
Thank
top
you.
fundraisers, and we're really competitive. So
Very.
we aim to, we aim to be higher than that this year. So it's not too early. We're already doing fundraising starting
Absolutely.
this month
Thank
for
you.
that. But let's talk about that.
Yeah, so the Walk in Muskegon started in 2001, and the Walk is the world's largest event to raise awareness and funds for Alzheimer's research and care. We have over 600 across the country, and our one in Muskegon since 2001 has raised over $500,000 for Alzheimer's disease, which is incredible. We had our largest fundraising ever. Last year, we raised over $70,000 with about 400 to 500 people in attendance each year. So it was a huge growth in Muskegon. I think that really just speaks to how many people have been affected here, how many people want to join us in finding a cure for that. So the walk is just on the rise. Most of our teams in Muskegon are made up of friends and family teams who are just all coming together to honor their loved ones who have Alzheimer's disease or they've lost, to help find a cure for that.
And you have some little cool windmill kind of flowers that when it's nice out, not in the winter, we have
Right.
out in our yard. So tell me, because there's a significance to the colors of all of those,
Yes.
right? So just in case somebody's ever seen one of those in the lovely weather, not winter,
Right.
they understand what that might mean.
Yeah, so we have a couple different colors. First is purple. That stands for if you've lost a loved one to Alzheimer's disease. Yellow is if you're a caregiver or have been a caregiver to somebody with Alzheimer's disease. Then we have orange, which means you don't necessarily have that personal connection, but you support a world without Alzheimer's disease. And then we have blue, which stands for you have the disease. And in 2017, the association revealed a new flower. Every walk received one of them. It is a white flower, which stands for the first survivor of Alzheimer's. The association has come out and very boldly said, we believe the first survivor is alive right now. That's what our researchers are telling her. That's where research is going. So we want to give that hope to all of our walkers that we are going to find the first survivor soon.
Great. Well, wouldn't it be lovely if it was here in Muskegon?
Absolutely.
So that would be wonderful.
That would
So
be.
do you have the date for 2018 already?
Yep, we September 22nd, right down at Heritage Landing. We're hoping for a little bit cooler day this year than last year.
It was a little warm. It was
those
so
90
warm, we were all
degree-
going to go out afterwards, and we all wanted to just get into the air-conditioned
Right.
vehicles. And go.
Absolutely.
And it's a short walk. I mean, you're not talking a long
Yep,
5
it's
or
about
10
2
days.
miles.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you're just walking downtown. It's nice and flat. It's easy. Everybody should do it.
you can go to the farmer's market after. We walk right by. So
We were going to, and it was like 85.
It was
with that
bad.
hot fall. It
Humid
was really
day, yep.
challenging. So, how did they find out more, either about the walk or anything else?
Yeah, so we have a wonderful website for the walk. It's alz.org/walk, and for anything else, caregiving information, support groups, it's just alz.org.
Okay. And you can always Google that, of course, or whatever your website search is.
Right.
But let's talk about one other thing that happens in the late summer, I guess, and that's that research night. We've had that for the last couple of years at Tanglewood Park, where Senior Resources is. Before that, I think it was at MCC. And you bring in this great doctor from Ann Arbor, even though I'm Spartan, he's a great doctor.
Yeah.
And I like Dr. Bruno. He's a really, and I can't remember his last name, but talk a little bit about that. Who do you hope comes to that? What do you hope people take away from it?
Yeah, so our research night is Dr. Bruno Giordani is a board member and also a researcher, so he attends the Alzheimer's International Conference each year. Last year it was in London, and he comes together with all different researchers and scientists and finds out the latest research that they're doing with Alzheimer's disease. So he comes to our different communities and presents that finding in ways we all can understand, not those scientific terms,
Right.
To our community. So we really want people to learn, what is being done in terms of research? What do we know that we didn't know, and where is this going? He does a great job of explaining it. It's a free event to anybody who can attend. Last year, Muskegon had the largest turnout, beating Ann Arbor, Lansing, Kalamazoo. We had over
Yay,
400
Muskegon.
people. It was absolutely wonderful.
Great. And they get a
great.
free meal, too. as I
Exactly.
recall.
Can't beat that.
Yeah, very nice event. So as that comes up, we'll make sure that we promote that as much as we can. Is there any new research that's promising? You'd mentioned that trying to get to that first, and I think that conference comes up again in the spring or late spring, it seems like.
Yeah, so currently, there's no treatment or cure or prevention for the disease, and there are medications, as Laura mentioned. Although they don't treat the disease, they treat symptoms, but the disease is still progressing. So the research is really focusing on detection, prevention, and treatment. So, for example, detection right now, they're working on blood tests, saliva tests. How can we diagnose you with Alzheimer's disease without those expensive scans? Prevention, we have hundreds of studies going on about, lifestyle changes, what you eat, your exercise, your social, how is that affecting you, and, does that delay Alzheimer's disease? And of course, treatment, we're working, with different research on drugs and things like that, to have a treatment for the disease.
Perfect. So really promising things. Didn't the Gates, Bill and Melinda Gates, get really involved with a major donation recently?
Absolutely,
Yes,
they did. It's a really great thing for us. So they have decided to donate millions of dollars towards specific studies. They are working with the Alzheimer's team to decide which studies that they personally want to invest in. So none of that money is going really to the association, just studies we have said, we think this would best suit, what you're looking
So
to do.
they want to look at something where, because I remember when I read about that, he very clearly said, I know there's a cure
Absolutely.
out there on the
Correct.
horizon. So he's really looking at how can this money get to a cure, not
Right.
and because that's going to affect everybody. So it's not going to
Exactly.
help with funding caregiver support, but boy, wouldn't that be wonderful if that money
Absolutely.
did that much good. So
Right.
any other, we've only got a couple of minutes, any other closing remarks, things that you really wish people would know or do? It's another chance to plug your phone number, how they can get a hold of you.
Our local number is 231-780-1922.
Yes, and of course, what we really want people to know is we believe and we try to offer people hope. You're never alone. So always, if you don't want to call our local number, we have our 800 number, 800-272-3900, and we also have our website, alz.org. Feel free to check out any of those or give us a call to find about more resources.
Wonderful. So really shouldn't be hidden. I don't think it has, I don't feel like it has been. I feel like in the last 10 years or so, it's really come out a lot more.
Absolutely.
People are talking,
Right.
you see it in obituaries for people after a long battle with Alzheimer's. It's not anything to be ashamed of, certainly, any more than cancer or
Absolutely
anything
not.
else is.
Right.
And so the more we talk about it and the more importance we place around it, the better chance we've got of finding a cure.
Absolutely.
More money always is needed to do that. So, well, thank you, ladies. I'm
Thank
so
you for
happy to
having
have got
us.
that
Thank you
update.
for having us.
So again, www.alz.org is their website, the 800-272-3900 number, or the local 780-1922. You can always find out more by contacting them at that number, or if you can't remember that, just call 211, which is the local community access line of the Lakeshore. Can always give you the information on what you need here locally, or they can connect you anywhere else around the country. Great to have you here, ladies. We'll talk about this again as we get closer to the walk. And for now, that's all we have for Senior Connections. We hope to see you next month. Thanks for joining us.